All right, we have a break coming up. Molly, come on in. You can come in now if you want to. And the two books we'll be reading from, The Night Before Christmas, which I have right here in front of me, for those of you who are streaming video. Oh, by the way, we're on live stream tonight, so if you want to tune in, Mike Malloy Show on live stream, you can do so. And Lemony Snicket's book, The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming. Close the door, honey, and have a seat. There she is. The reason for the season, right, Molly? Okay, sweetie, come sit down. All right, we're gonna do a break, and then we will be back and do some readings.
Almonds.
Okay, in 1822, a New York clergyman named Clement Clark Moore spun together Christmas memories for his children. The poem he wrote featured a red-suited Santa in a reindeer-drawn sleigh, a never-empty sack of toys, and stockings hung expectantly above the fireplace. He called it A Visit from St. Nicholas. And Molly is now going to read it for us. Do we have any music behind this? No music?
What would you like?
Oh, I don't know. Something
Baby,
very
it's cold
soft.
outside.
No, not baby, it's cold. All right, go ahead, Molly. Begin.
Okay. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there rose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment, must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves before the wild hurricane fly, when they met with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up on the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry, his cheeks are like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. Ho, ho, ho. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I'd nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, filled all the stockings, and turned with a jerk. And laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh to his team gave a whistle. And away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night!"
Well, that was very good.
I didn't like that comment.
Did you rehearse that?
Once.
You did?
Once.
Yeah, today we read through it again.
Yeah, but that was like rehearsal. I added so much more drama and acting. It's just my life. Life of the drama queen.
This story ends in someone's mouth, but it begins in a tiny village more or less covered in snow. The snow had fallen during the long night, during which children had pressed their faces to the windows, looking for a glimpse of a man who they suspected of bringing them wonderful gifts. But instead, they heard a terrible noise from a certain cottage in the neighboring arrondissement, a word which here means place where something was being born. This cottage was already regarded with some suspicion, as it was the only place not decorated with flashing colored lights at this time of year. The thing that was being born was a latke, a word which here means potato pancake. Latkes are a traditional part of the celebration of Hanukkah, a holiday commemorating a miraculous Jewish military victory. Nearly everything in this world is born screaming, and the latke was no exception. Even though the latke wasn't conceived and born the way you and I were conceived and born, but instead was fashioned from grated potatoes, chopped onion, beaten eggs, and a dash or two of salt. Once these ingredients were properly mixed, the latke was slapped into a pan full of olive oil, heated to a very high temperature, and this is when it began to scream. The latke was suffering so much that it leapt out of the hot pan and out the window of the cottage and began to run screaming down the boulevard. This may seem like unusual behavior for a potato pancake, but this is a Christmas story in which things tend to happen that would never occur in real life. The latke ran past a row of flashing colored lights which hung from the rain gutters of a less suspicious cottage. "What's all the ruckus?" said the lights in unison. "We're the ones who are supposed to be dominating the neighborhood with our cheerful glow."
I was just thrown into a pan of boiling oil.
The latke cried in reply.
Can you believe it?
"Yes," said the flashing colored lights, "but we can't imagine why."
Because I'm a latke,
said the latke.
The olive oil reminds us of the oil used to rededicate the temple following the defeat of the Antiochus at the hands of the Maccabees. The oil was only supposed to last for one night, but there was a miracle and it happened. And it lasted for 8. Plus, frying makes my skin crispy and brown.
"So you're basically hash browns," said the flashing colored lights. "Maybe you could be served alongside a Christmas ham?"
I'm not hash browns. I'm something completely different.
The latke rounded the corner and found itself face to face with a candy cane, which wrinkled its red and white nose at the latke in distaste. "I'm trying to sprinkle the night air with my peppermint scent," the candy cane said. "Your mouth-watering smell, not to mention all that yelping, is spoiling the effect."
My mouth-watering smell is part of the cozy feeling of Hanukkah,
the latke replied.
It reminds us that things are better than they were in 175 BC, when my people were not allowed to practice their religion. In order to study the Torah, they had to hide out in caves, and when they heard Greek soldiers approach, they pretended they were gambling with a small spinning top called a dreidel.
Sort of like Joseph and Mary hiding out in the manger, said the candy cane. "Someone should write a Christmas carol about you."
I'm not a part of Christmas,
cried the latke.
It's a totally different thing.
The screams of the latke grew quieter and quieter as the pancake ran out of the village into the surrounding forest. Its utter fury was unabated, a phrase which here means the latke was still very annoyed at the objects to whom it had spoken. But it was quite tired, and so it decided to rest for a few minutes beneath the branches of a little pine tree. The pine tree was napping, but woke up at the sound of an object plopping down at its feet. "Are you a present?" the pine tree asked. "Presents are pretty much the only thing allowed to sit beneath me during this time of year." We'll be right back with the finish of the Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming. All right, back to the screaming Latke, the Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, subtitled A Christmas Story, which I don't think it is. Anyway, the Latke ran into the woods and sat down under a pine tree. "Are you a present?" the pine tree asked. "Presents are pretty much the only thing allowed to sit beneath me during this time of year." The Latke sighed.
Presents aren't really a big part of Hanukkah,
It said in a voice hoarse from screaming.
There's nothing wrong with giving gifts to loved ones, of course, but it's more important to light candles for 8 nights in a row to remember the miracle in the temple and the miracle of victory, even when you are thoroughly outnumbered. So you shouldn't give up hope.
"Plus Santa Claus," said the pine tree. The Latke was too exhausted to scream.
Santa Claus has nothing to do with it.
The Latke said.
Christmas and Hanukkah are completely different things.
"But different things can often blend together," said the pine tree. "Let me tell you a funny story about pagan rituals." But before the pine tree could begin its story, a family came trooping through the snow, searching the forest carefully. "We shouldn't have waited until the last minute to get ready for the holiday," said the father in the family, who was holding an axe. "We'll never find a good one." "You shouldn't give up hope," said the mother, and pointed at the pine tree. "Look, it's perfect," said the daughter. "Beautiful," agreed the son. "Such a marvelous shape," said the mother. "And its skin looks so crispy," said the father, and reached down and scooped up the Latke from the snow. "We'll need to reheat it, of course, but this will be perfect for Hanukkah dinner, with a topping of applesauce, sour cream, or even jam." "I'll refry it in oil," said the mother, "to remind us all of the rededication of the temple. And the triumph of the Maccabees over Antiochus," added the daughter. "After hiding in caves all that time," the son chimed in. The father smiled down at the Latke in his mitten, and then stared curiously at his other hand. "What was I thinking, bringing this axe?" he said to himself. The family strolled back to the village, walking past all the cottages with flashing colored lights and smiling politely at the candy canes until they reached their own home. The family carried the Latke into their home, which was warm and cozy, and sat down at the table, which was lit with the flickering candles of a menorah, which is a branched candelabra designed specifically for the holiday. It was very frustrating not to be understood in this world. If you say one thing and keep being told that you mean something else, it can make you want to scream. But somewhere in the world there's a place for all of us. Whether you are an electric form of decoration, a peppermint-scented sweet, a source of timber, or a potato pancake. On a cold, snowy night, everyone and everything should be welcomed somewhere. And the Latke was welcomed into a home full of people who understood what a Latke is and how it fits into its particular holiday. And then they ate it.
Ow!
Lemony Snicket.
I love her.
The Latke, is that a she? Is
yes,
it a woman?
Lemony Snicket is a she.
Oh, no. The illustrator, Lisa Brown, is a she, but Lemony Snicket is a male.
It is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Does that ruin your image of the book? No, don't do that, honey.
I didn't know that.
You thought Lemony Snicket was female. All right, listen, that was very good. You know, another thing did you hear that audio that we found? We found one today, Truth Seekers, from the first Christmas when Molly was, what was she, 6 months old, Kathy? She was about 6 months old, and we sat and listened to it. It was when I read The Night Before Christmas to you.
It was wonderful. It was so funny.
And you had a poopy diaper, I think. I think we decided you had a poopy diaper. That's very embarrassing now that you're 8.5 to sit here and say that, isn't it? Now, are you going to do this with me next year?
Yes, Daddy.
What?
Can they listen to the audio?
No, it's not that good at recording, honey. It's very old. It's older than, well, it's almost as old as you are.
It's 8 years old.
8.5 years, right? Well, no, 8 years. That's right. All right, listen, thank your fans.
Okay, I just have something to say.
Okay, what?
Well, to all of my fans, I know there are some of my dad's friends just tuning in, but I thank you all for all your wonderful comments, and, well, Thank you. So we'll do this every year, mostly. When do you think I'll stop?
I don't know, when you're 30?
Now?
Or maybe now?
I'm voting for now.
Okay. No, you can...
Bedtime, kid. Come on.
You can stop. You can
Okay.
stop. You can stop when you're 30.
Now, let me just say one thing.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays,
Happy winter solstice.
Happy Winter Solstice, and
Kwanzaa?
Happy Kwanzaa.
There must be some Hindu festivals around this time of year.
Happy Hindu festivals around
and-
this time of year.
And to all of our atheist and agnostic listeners,
Happy holidays.
happy season.
And one more thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Happy Yuletide.
Happy Yuletide. All right. Thank you, sweetie. Give me a kiss. Okay, go out with Mama. And it's about time for you to go to bed. Bye-bye.
Peace.